have signed off on this deal, which requires members of the Sackler family to pay roughly $4.3 billion and give up ownership of their bankrupt company. But attorneys general from 9 states, as well as the U.S. Justice Department and opioid activists, say the plan doesn't achieve real accountability for a company and a family at the center of the nation's deadly opioid crisis. Critics say if members of the Sackler family want to win immunity from lawsuits, they should be forced to declare bankruptcy. Separate opioid civil trials are underway in courts around the country as other companies face a wave of lawsuits stemming from the manufacture, distribution, and sale of prescription painkillers. Brian Mann, NPR News, New York.
The United States has just seen a third straight week of declines in first-time unemployment claims. They fell to 375,000 from 387,000 the week before. NPR's Scott Horsley has more numbers underscoring the economy's rebound from the coronavirus recession.
As of late July, some 12 million people were receiving some form of unemployment assistance. That includes 8.7 million people enrolled in special pandemic programs. About half the states have already ended that aid. The rest are set to do so next month.
NPR's Scott Horsley. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 47 points since the open at 35,436. This is NPR. Taliban insurgents have captured another Afghan city. Ghazni is less than 100 miles from the capital, Kabul. Taliban fighters are quickly advancing, raising questions about the Afghan government's ability to effectively push back the insurgency as it draws closer to Kabul. While Taliban violence reaches more areas of Afghanistan, the United States is preparing to formally end its 20-year-long mission in Afghanistan within weeks. The French Caribbean regions of Guadeloupe and Martinique are being put on strict lockdown as the coronavirus Delta variant explodes in that area. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports French President Emmanuel Macron is calling the situation a cruel demonstration of the necessity of the vaccine.
The 2 overseas French regions have a much lower vaccination rate than mainland France. Macron says he wants 50 million people vaccinated by September. France has a population of 69 million. Government data indicates some 38 million are currently inoculated. Starting in September, booster shots will be available to those with health problems and to the very elderly, and there will also be vaccine centers inside schools. Despite several nationwide protests by a fringe minority of anti-vaxxers, a majority of the French support the government's toughening policies. Restaurants, bars, planes, trains, museums, and other public venues are now accessible only to those who can show a vaccine or a negative test. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
On Wall Street, the S&P has risen 4 points. It's at 4451. Nasdaq's up 11 at 14,776. The Dow's down 51. This is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Subaru, with the 2021 Subaru Forester, featuring standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and safety technology. Love, it's what makes Subaru, Subaru. Learn more at Subaru.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Classical Music here on West Virginia Public Broadcasting. I'm Matt Jackford, your host for this afternoon. Today, I'm here with some very special guests. We have Kim Scott, the Director of Choirs at West Virginia University, here with us to chat about choral music, but also she has some friends who've tagged along here, and we have the Maestri Vocale Treble joining us today. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Thank you. So exciting to be here.
So glad you all made it down, and you all are coming from all sorts of areas around the state, convening here in Charleston for this performance. So tell us about the Maestri Vocale Treble. Introduce us to the ensemble.
Okay, so today you don't have the entire ensemble, partly because we have some people with other engagements, and partly because we probably don't want everybody in the studio at once. So this is a selection of our group, but this was a group started, I guess, a few months ago. And I'm actually going to pass the microphone over to somebody who can tell you a little bit more about how it's all put together. So this is Natalie Schaefer, and she will explain a little more.
All right, Natalie, let's talk a little bit about the Maestri Vocale. Give us a little rundown.
Sure, thank you. It's great to be here. During COVID, my good friend Sarah Neal, who's also here, and you'll hear from her later today, and I wanted to put a group together that was for treble voices in the Mountain State. We have some close friends who are music educators and singers in the state that have already been here in your studio and sang, and they are the Maestri Vocale group of tenor and bass voices. So we are the other half.
Right.
And we will be doing some performances together in upcoming months. Hopefully, we'll see what the COVID numbers do. And we'll continue to do things on our own. So Sarah and I started contacting singers and conductors and music educators that we knew and asked them if they would be interested in forming a group where we are focused on great choral music making, but also creating a sense of community for treble-voiced singers where they can come and learn and grow and find community outside of what a lot of us lose after collegiate level singing might end. So it's been a great process, and we're excited to share. Our first concert is coming up on Sunday, so we're going to share some stuff from that with you.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, we're grateful that you all came in here, grateful that you all have music to be able to be performed. We're back from quarantine, and we're out singing again, and so that's really great. And where's the concert coming up? Tell us about what's coming up with the concert.
Sure. We have our first concert. It's called Finding Our Voice, and it is at Trinity Episcopal Church at the top of High Street in Morgantown. This Sunday, it is August 15th at 3 p.m. It is the end of move-in weekend in Morgantown, so if you want to come, we suggest you try to come early, and we're also asking that our audience members be masked and observe social distancing protocol.
Okay, that's great. Well, good to hear that there's some safety in place at the concert so we can have great music. And, of course, move-in weekend, that's just a calamity up in Morgantown. I've been a part of that. There may be a little traffic here and there. Definitely get moving early if you want to check out this upcoming performance Sunday with the Maestri Vocale Treble. So I appreciate that, Natalie. Thanks. For the little introduction here to this wonderful ensemble. That's the partner group of the Maestri Vocale. If you heard them on our airwaves before, that was the tenor and bass group that performed here live with us twice, actually. And so now we have the treble side of things. So, Kim, tell us about what kind of program you have for us today. We have some recorded music, but also some performed music. So give us a little rundown. What's going on?
Sure. So last time I was here, we played kind of a selection of choral greats, let's say. So the music that a lot of people would have recognized. And in doing that, when we're looking across a huge time span, we tend to be very focused on the music of North America and Europe, and particularly music written by men. So we are completely mixing it up today and going the complete opposite route of that. So we are celebrating music that celebrates women. So that might be due to who composed it. It could be due to who's performing it, who wrote the poetry. So that is sort of the focus, and that's a little bit about what our concert will be this weekend, on top of a lot of other areas that we will explore in our program on Sunday as well. So I tried to pick some things that weren't all just things written in the last 5 years, but of course we do know that most music written by women that we are aware of is more recent music. Mm-hmm. So today's a pretty contemporary program, except for the first piece.
Yeah, which is not even written in the last 5 centuries, I think. No. So go ahead. We have Hildegard von Bingen first.
Yes. So when we think about women composers, this name is one that is always going to come up because, we're talking back to medieval times. Hildegard was known very much as a philosopher, a mystic, a poet. She had visions, and she went out and spoke to people a lot about her views and also these visions. And she left us with a lot of fabulous music. So I wanted to play a little snippet, really, of something that we still have with us today, of much of her music. So if you enjoy this, I would suggest that you look for more music by her if you're out there listening and enjoy this style of music.
Yep. Just that very ancient sort of style. Not ancient, but, medieval sort of style.
Yes, you hear it, you know where it's coming from.
Right,
yes.
Right. Okay, so the song we have is Ode to Illustrata. Mm-hmm. And you have anything you want to set up before we play
it's a Latin text, of course. I did think about bringing in the translation, but it's very long. So I decided we might just listen to the actual the music and enjoy it for the music.
Okay, well, we have a recorded performance here by the ensemble Vocame, Ode to Illustrata by Hildegard von Bingen. Wonderful music there by Hildegard von Bingen. That was Ode to Illustrata, and wonderful medieval harmonies there, and something that to me sounded like a hurdy-gurdy maybe, or something droning along there. I'm not sure if I got that right, but it sounded like a hurdy-gurdy. But
We'll go with that.
which, yeah, I'll go with it. We had a hurdy-gurdy on here, that's why I'm in the hurdy-gurdy mode. Anyway, that was the ensemble Vocame performing that wonderful selection. So what's up for us next?
Okay, so we are in some way not moving too much farther forward in terms of time frame, and in other ways a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a piece by Abby Bettina. So Abby is a contemporary composer. She's still very young, but she wrote this wonderful work called From Behind the Caravan, Songs of Hafez. And this is, the text actually comes from Shirazi, who was the 14th century mystic poet from Shiraz in Persia, which of course is now Iran. And his writing is based on Sufism. So it's a mystical translation of Islam, and it's very focused on the personal journey. So it talks a lot about becoming nearer to the beloved through love, beauty, and ridding one's heart of material desires. So there are 5 movements in this piece. We're actually just going to listen to the first one, which is called We Have Come. The 5th one is a reprise of that. But once again, this is extraordinarily fabulous music, and something a little bit different than what we think of in traditional choral terms. But this is something that I would love to do sometime. So I might secretly be sharing some of this with my good friends over here going, what about this piece?
Yeah, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, maybe. Yeah. Okay, we have Abby Bentinas, and this is From Behind the Caravan, and then the first move is called We Have Come.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so let's take it away. We have a performance here with the Abby Bentinas Music Company Women's Chamber Ensemble from a performance back in 2014. That's really cool music right there. That was Abby Bentinas' We Have Come from Behind the Caravan. And we had a performance by the Abby Bentinas Music Company Women's Chamber Ensemble from a performance back in 2014. And that kind of reminds me of a little bit of a piece that I've heard before called Kafa Spheri. Have you ever heard that piece? And it's a very like ethnic sort of piece, and has like a lot of the women chanting, or a lot of it's almost supposed to be folksy, but like a little bit out of tune, so like it gives that thick kind of sound to it. Anyway, yeah, that's just...
Yeah, I mean, singing that type of music obviously is challenging for those of us who've grown up in a very Western style. So,
right.
Yes, it's always a challenge to learn it as conductors and then teach it to our singers, but always such a great rewarding experience. One of our members here was just saying that they sang that with Women's Song here in Charleston.
Oh, cool.
And it was your favorite piece you ever sang. I hope that wasn't a secret, because I'm now sharing it. But so there's definitely something that comes from exploring something that's very different to what we're used to, and a new culture and a new understanding. So
right, and of course, and that may be coming up in your all's repertoire here soon. Maybe, who knows?
Maybe. Yes.
All right, and now we're going to get into the portion of a little bit of live performance here.
Yeah, so we're going to perform something for you. I just wanted to mention one thing about the group that is a little bit different to the traditional choir you will see. This is a very collaborative group. So if you attend our concert on Sunday, you'll notice there are 4 people who will be conducting. All of us are members of the choir. We all sing when we're not conducting. And today we're, beefing up that collaboration a little bit more in terms of being flexible. So this next piece, I'm going to have Natalie introduce it because it's a piece that she conducts, but she'll also be playing djembe for us today.
Okay, great.
And so over to you.
And for those that don't know, djembe is the African drum, the African hand drum. So she'll be performing that here while they're singing. So, Natalie, tell us a bit about this song that's coming up here.
Sure. I'm so glad Kim mentioned that there are multiple conductors. I was thinking we should let them know it's an inclusive group and a really collaborative process. So it's not only multiple conductors, everyone suggests repertoire, and then we put a program together. So this is one of the ones I suggested. It's called Lineage. It's by a contemporary female composer named Andrea Ramsey. And she took a poem by Margaret Walker that she says, I'm going to use some of her program notes, that she says was leaping off the page at her. The words are crying to be sung. So she set them. And it is a poem about some things that tie to me to Appalachian, the experience of being an Appalachian woman. It speaks about grandmothers and ancestors and onions and soap and wet clay. And so I thought I'd just share a little bit of the end of what she wrote, because she says it much more eloquently than I think I could. She aims at times for it to be earthy and almost bluesy, not bluesy in a commercial sense, but in the heart and gut sense. And I know that when I think of blues singers and old blues players, there's something that lines up inside me, and that happens in this piece. So the text is really powerful, and it's a very low, earthy. You won't hear any of us singing in the upper part of our range. So also a little different from what a lot of people equate with choral singing.
Okay, so this hits, at the core of that blues stuff. So, okay, well, let's take a listen to this piece called Lineage by Andrea Ramsey. And Natalie here will be conducting, and will she be playing djembe? Are you going to do both? Are you going to conduct and play?
I will do both.
She's going to do both. Okay, conduct and play djembe at the same time. And if you all are ready, we can take it away.
My grandmothers were strong. My grandmothers were strong. They followed plows and bent to toil. They moved through fields, sowing seeds. My grandmothers were strong. My grandmothers were strong. They touched the earth. They touched the earth and grain grew. Touched the earth and grain grew. My grandmothers were strong.
Wonderful job, guys. That was Andrea Ramsey's Lineage. And that had some powerful text to it, coming from a place of strength. Really liked the message there in that piece. And great job, Natalie, drumming and conducting, doing double duty over there.
We collaborate and multitask.
Yeah, clearly. Maybe we should start texting while djembing and conducting. Maybe we can pull a triple duty there. So we've got some people listening from Morgantown on our live stream. Jim Lang says, nice. Jim Lang's our former classical host here. Cole says, get it, MVT.
He may or may not be one of my students.
Oh, man. Yeah, maybe a little partial, but we'll take it. So check out our live stream if you're listening on the radio. You might want to watch this live performance here. And so, again, that was Andrea Ramsey's Lineage, performed here live in our studios by the Maestri Vocale Treble. And Kim's here going to set up our next piece.
Sure. I just wanted to mention, actually, we had Andrea Ramsey with us, I guess, a couple of years ago now. We do a high school choral festival generally every year, and she was our last guest. And I remember her talking about her compositional process and how she gets these words and she sort of wanders around her house and just speaks them in different rhythms and sort of gets them in her mouth. And I can totally make sense of that concept when it comes to that piece we just sang. Mm-hmm. I think it's always, you're a composer, you would understand this better than most, but I love being able to listen to composers talk about how we get to this music. I'm not a composer, so my job is always interpreting the music and trying to do my best job at doing that successfully based on what the composer's intentions are. So it's great to be able to do that. And the next piece is actually by Gwyneth Walker, who is also a contemporary American composer. And this coming year, the WVU Chamber Singers will actually be singing quite a bit of her repertoire, not the piece we're about to hear, but she is coming to West Virginia for our WVMEA conference as one of the headline guests, and we will get to work with her and perform some of her music, so that's super exciting for us. That's really cool, yeah. And the little interaction I've had with her in terms of planning that and choosing repertoire, and she's a really interesting woman. She spent 30 years of her life living on a dairy farm in Vermont. She, will come in from feeding the goats to check her email.
That's the real composer life.
Yeah, she lives in Connecticut now, and she is really enjoying, I think, that process of relaxation with a good work ethic, I guess.
Yeah, right.
So this next piece is called "Let the Life I've Lived Speak for Me." The text is once again very powerful, which is for me, I always say the reason I got into choral music versus being an instrumental conductor, because my whole background is instrumental music, was text. The text is what is so important. So this piece is a memorial song, and I really encourage the listeners to really listen to the text of this and take that in.
Okay, great. This is Gwyneth Walker's "Let the Life I've Lived Speak for Me," and we have a performance here by the all-female ensemble La Cucina. A live performance of Let the Life I've Lived Speak for Me by Gwyneth Walker. And that was performed by the Ensemble La Cucina. Very powerful words there. You know, let the life I've lived speak for you. Don't let somebody else write your biography for you. You know?
Absolutely.
You know, wonderful music, great selection, Kim. Very appreciated. And we've got some more activity on the stream here. Jeremiah Smallridge, you may all know, says, I can't wait for the concert. So
hey,
that's great. Scotty says he's plugging for the WVU Community Choir that's directed by Kim.
We're all plugging for that.
And then Kim says, I stumbled on this today. I'm so happy that I did. Thank you for Lineage and for all of what you do. He's listening from Pittsburgh. So appreciate the comments there. And Lineage, that was a great piece there. And performance live in our studios. And we have another live arrangement coming up here.
Yes, so we're going to sing for you again. This is a piece by James Taylor, clearly not a woman.
He just performed here in Charleston.
Yes, he was also in Pittsburgh, I think 2 weeks ago. I've actually seen James Taylor in concert a couple of times, and it doesn't matter how old he gets, he still sounds the same.
That's amazing.
Although I didn't hear the most recent concert, so someone might correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly in recent
I think he's timeless. I'm pretty sure he is timeless.
And just amazing storytelling music that he is known for. And so this piece was originally called Millwork. And Susan Labar is the arranger. She's a wonderful composer and arranger here in Missouri, based in Missouri. She's also a music editor, so we do a lot of music that comes out of her publishing company.
Okay.
But this piece really tells the story of somebody who is stuck in not particularly rewarding career path, let's say. The words, I think, will speak for themselves. It's not a well-known James Taylor song. I actually was not familiar with this song before the arrangement came across my desk, and we performed this last semester with our Mountaineer Singers at WVU, our treble auditioned group, and it's always challenging, as everyone found when we first rehearsed this piece, to take a pop song, even whether you know it or not know it, because rhythmically it's always a lot more challenging than one expects it to
right,
be.
A lot of syncopation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've had some fun with that. And so this is another piece where multitasking comes in. So I will be conducting this piece on Sunday, but today I will be playing the piano. So I'm going to run to the piano.
Okay, and then
who's
going to be conducting? Natalie here?
We're just going to sing.
Okay.
Don't tell anyone, but occasionally you don't need a conductor.
Yeah. All right, well, Kim's running over to the piano, and we've got our ensemble here, Maestri Vocale Treble, and they're going to be performing live for us here. This is a song by James Taylor, arranged by Susan Lubar, called Mill Worker. Take it when you're ready.
His
job, guys. That was Mill Worker by James Taylor, performed by the Maestri Vocale Treble, and that was an arrangement by Susan Lubar. Great music there, and, really interesting. You said that the vocal parts are very, challenging rhythmically. I mean, that's true about pop music. The foundation is often very square, but the vocal parts are generally very syncopated, very complex. So
yeah, I often find when we program something that's a pop song in choir, it's actually a lot harder to teach, generally because of the rhythm, not because of harmonies, than anyone ever expects. Because often, if you hear a pop singer, they're generally not singing the exact same thing every single time.
Right.
And particularly if it's a song we know. So we have something stuck in our head, and then you have to unlearn that and make sure you're singing the same thing as everyone else and what's written on the page. So yeah, it's always a challenge.
Right. And that was an interesting arrangement. There's a lot of counterpoint going on, different melodies going against each other. So.
Yes, and I love that Susan doesn't always give the sopranos the melody.
Right, yeah.
So she shares out the love a
alto
little bit.
power right there. Yes, good stuff. That was, again, a song by James Taylor, arranged for choir, Mill Worker. And then, so we've got a couple more recorded pieces for us, and then, of course, one more live performance.
Can we skip one just in case we run out of time?
Sure, yeah.
So can we go to Bird of Hope?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if we have time, we'll come back to the other one. I don't want all of these lovely singers to have come all the way down here and then we're like, sorry, ran out of time to sing.
Well, get on out of here. No, that's okay. Let's move on to The Bird of Hope here, and by Kevin Nicoletti.
Yes, so this one is actually composed by a man, so we haven't had too much of that, and it's not even arranged by a woman, but it is by on a text. That is by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, and I was doing a little research into where this came from and sort of the thought process, because it talks about basically, it's called A Bird of Hope. My side note, my students, the first time we did this at WVU, always just called it The Bird, because they like to give me a hard time with my Australian accent and never putting an R in the middle of a word. So it was always known as that for some time.
B-U-H-D.
So, but it talks about, wanting to obviously soar high, but not too high. So I was like, yeah, that's a really interesting idea of, yes, let's be hopeful, but let's not be too hopeful.
Right.
So I looked into it a little bit, but the point that the poet was trying to make, it seems, is that while having hope gives us strength, it's really what we do with that hope that is important. So just hoping for something isn't going to make it happen. We have to actually do things to be proactive. So I liked that. So this recording is actually our WVU Mountaineer Singers, which is our treble ensemble from this past semester. So we did this performance obviously during COVID. So they were all spaced 12 feet apart.
Oh man! Did you have to wear masks
they
and
were
everything?
all wearing masks.
Wow.
Yes, it was a challenge, but I wanted to put something out there that it took courage and it took a lot of hope, and and we did a lot of things to get us there. So this is our Mountaineer Singers.
And would you have an audience here and live?
Our very last concert, we had a very small audience,
Gotcha.
Very spread out in our very large theatre.
Gotcha.
But they were only students, faculty, and staff of the School of Music.
It's been certainly been a challenge for ensembles everywhere to figure out how to do this and how to get live music back when we have to have collections of people. And because music, it's hard to do it far apart. It's hard to do at distance. It's something you do together when you bring everybody in the same space.
And speaking of, I'd just like to throw it out there for anybody who is watching the live stream of this, who can see us. The reason that we are singing the way we are singing in here is because we are all fully vaccinated, and we've had a lot of conversation around that, and different comfort levels, and being careful and safe. So just in case anyone's at home going, well, what's going on there?
Right. No, great.
That's where we're at.
Great point to be made. Everybody in this room is fully vaccinated, and that's one of the reasons we can have live music back is if we can get over this pandemic and push to the next phase here. So let's take a listen to Bird of Hope, very appropriate for this time right now, by Kevin Nicoletti, and this is performed performed by the West Virginia University Mountaineer Singers. That was a live performance of Bird of Hope by Kevin Nicoletti, performed by the West Virginia University Mountaineer Singers. And Kim, who do we have accompanying on that piece?
Yes, it would be very remiss of me not to mention the amazing Dr. Sunjung Lee, who played for us this last year, really as a favor. Normally that is not her job to play for choir, because she plays for everything. She's been on this show, I believe, many times.
The Iron Man of accompaniment.
Yes. So she stepped in because our graduate assistant who has that position was stuck in Brazil and couldn't leave due to the pandemic. She's back now, so we're very excited to have Islay back this semester, but incredibly grateful to Sunjung for stepping in and helping us out last year.
Absolutely. Well, that's appreciated as always. And she's performed live on this show 2 or 3 times now. So she's done all sorts of work, keeping busy during, COVID and during quarantine and everything. So appreciate that. And all right, we have one more piece here. We want to get to it before we got to go out for NPR News and 1A.
So we're going to perform one more piece for you. So as I said, the 3 things that we sang live for you today are all going to be on our concert on Sunday. So please join us for that. And I'm going to hand you over now to Sarah Nail, who is conducting our final piece. I will be back on the piano. And she's going to tell you just a little bit more about the theme of the concert.
Okay. Sarah, take it away. And Kim's going over to the piano here. So Sarah, tell us about the concert.
So the name of our concert is Finding Our Voice, which is very appropriate since it's our very first concert, and we've been finding our way through COVID world, finding how we can work together and cooperate. But also it's appropriate because we are singing songs that represent people whose voices have very often been silenced. We have a women's set, we have an invisible laborer set, which you heard in Mill Worker. So our final piece is Eagle When She Flies. And so the basic thought behind our concert was unity and acceptance in diversity. And when I think of those words, and I think of female performers in the general audience, I think of Dolly Parton.
Yeah, absolutely. 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm. We're not singing 9 to 5. That would be lovely. We are singing one of her lesser known songs, Eagle When She Flies. I found the text and I just thought it was beautiful. And I happen to have a composer in-house, and by in-house, I mean he lives in my house. That is my husband, Joshua Stubbs, who is a charter member of Maestri Vocale, the tenor and bass group. Mm-hmm. So he is the arranger of this amazing piece of music that we're about to share with you. And our beginning soloist is Savannah Butcher. And our secondary soloist could not make it here, so I will be filling in for them.
Okay, great. Well, appreciate that, Sarah, that little introduction about Dolly Parton's Eagle When She Flies, arranged by Joshua Stubbs, who has just been on the show recently, performing with the Maestri Vocale. And take it away, Maestri Vocale Treble, live here in our studios.
When she
Wonderful job, ladies. That was awesome. That was Dolly Parton's Eagle When She Flies, arranged by Joshua Stubbs, member of Maestri Vocale. And we have to move on to 1A here coming up next. That was the Maestri Vocale Treble performing here live in our studios. Thank you so much for coming here and singing live for us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully we can have you all back. Check out their performance coming up this Sunday in Morgantown. What time again?
3 p.m. at Trinity Episcopal Church. And you can find us on social media at Maestri Vocale Treble.
All right, so check them out. Maestri Vocale Treble, thanks so much for coming on. Stay tuned for 1A. That's coming up next here on WVPB Charleston, WVPY Beckley, WVBL Bluefield, WVPW Buchanan, WVWV Huntington, WVP Martinsburg, WVKM 81, WVPM Morgantown, WVPG Parkersburg, WVDS Petersburg, WVWS Webster Springs, WVMP Wheeling, and we're online at wvpublic.org. Thank you again to the Maestri Vocale Treble for joining us today, and thanks to Eddie Isom for running the cameras for our live stream. Stay tuned for 1A coming up right after this NPR News Update.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Biden is denouncing the politicizing of mask mandates.